This is the Keller Chronicles, Cook with Your Heart. Stories, lessons, and flavors from Chef Duane Keller, a chef who has spent 5 decades cooking for presidents, royalty, and people just like you.
Good morning and welcome to the Keller Chronicles. I have a chef that has inspired me all along. I could go on and on about all the accolades, but a good friend, longtime friend. We worked together back in 1993 when the Blue Jays actually won the World. Chef Recher, they're the world's certified master chef with the National Chef Professionalism Award, Global Chef Challenge Award, the National Culinary Olympic Team. I could go on, and anybody can find you out there. You're the hardest working chef, and you've got your hands in everything. If you're going to follow anybody, I would follow Chef Tim. Just amazing history, amazing career. And I think the bottom line is hard work pays off. And, I've always said, being in the right place at the right time helps, but you've forged your way and worked so hard with the ACF and it's amazing. Welcome to the Keller Chronicles.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's very nice of you to say. I've been pretty fortunate, but I don't know about all that. I think I've just been around a long time. I've had opportunities to do a lot of stuff, so it sounds more than it is, but I just go to the kitchen every day like every other chef out there and try to do what I do.
You make it seem easy, and I know it's not easy, but just the accolades and what you've done, the stories that you have, I'm sure we can just go on all day long. How's the new club?
No, it's great. So I'm down here at the Club of Mediterranean. I'm director of culinary operations here. In Naples, Florida. So I'm in Southwest Florida here. It's fantastic. So this is kind of I talk about it. I've had my eye on this place for a long time. It's got such a great reputation, and we're ranked in the top 100 in the country, and we're the actually only country club on the Florida that touches the Florida Gulf Coast on the World Platinum Club list. We got voted on there a second time again. So I've been watching this club for a while, and the chef who I actually know, he retired, and I got a phone call. So, I was really happy to jump at the chance, but it's been great. It's been a whirlwind 2 months to getting ready. We just started our season here, so all our membership is in town. And so I oversee the main clubhouse. We're a few restaurants at our golf courses and things like that. And then we also run a beach club. So I oversee both properties. So we have a beach club right on our private beach on the Gulf Coast where we run a restaurant, a little event center there as well.
And thank you for joining us. I mean, I know, season starting, you're just so busy. I would say this is such an honor to have you on. What's the fish looking like down there? I see you posting some pics in that of the local fish. I love fish.
Oh yeah. No, and first, thank you for inviting us. It's an honor. It was, we go way back. I was just starting out, just a young cook, and I kind of consider working for you was one of the first things I finished after I had a little apprenticeship with the hotel. And I learned so much. I still make some of the stuff that you showed me, and I learned how to make my first risotto there, gumbo, and just seeing you work and how to design food for a restaurant. That was the first exposure to it. So it's a huge influence on my career. One of the things down here, I really can say that, in my 30 plus years of cooking, I get some of the best fish I've ever seen in my life here. So specifically, I deal with a few people. A lot of them I've had relationships for a very long time over the years. Some of them come from DC. I have a great guy in Boston, but locally we have this guy, Tim Dillingham. He runs a bunch of 3 or 4 different boats here in the Gulf. Dilly's his name, Captain Dilly. So he goes out in the Gulf. He only does overnight trips, so he's not out there for more than one day. He and his guys, and most of it's spearfishing, so they're targeting specific species for us. So he'll let me know, hey, we're going out. What are you looking for? Do you want grouper? And then, but what kind of grouper? Do you want black or scamp or whatever? And then we'll get text, and he deals with a few of us in town here, specifically big club chefs, and we kind of have to take turns because he'll ran something real special, and he's like, okay, it's your turn. Do you want this?
Wow.
He'll text us from being at the water, or when he gets back in shore close enough to get coverage. And I just landed this 80-pound black grouper. Do you want it? We're like, yeah, bring it to me. And so we're getting fish coming out of the water like 24 hours or less. It's pristine. It's amazing. Yeah. It's truly special. And so that's a lot of fun. And then, I deal with some other guys internationally. I just doing with 2 companies now. I got a great pumpkin sword coming in tomorrow that I'm excited to see. And the Thai salmon, I got allocated one of those coming down from Boston on Thursday. So I'm looking forward to that. I like the ingredient part. I have a lot of fun with it and getting really special things for our people.
Yeah, all your dishes look amazing that you post. One day I'm hoping, and I always say I'm just halfway there. I'm hoping that we can cook again together and in the kitchen, and fish back in when I was in Florida for 10 years. I was in Sarasota, opened 6 different operations. A guy would come in a van and just bring whole fish, and it was literally $1 a pound. But these fish were like, 400 pounds or 100 pounds but it was $1 a pound. And when you break down a fish, you get a 50% yield or such. That was before the red tide.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to, that's one of the things we're dealing with the fish guys we do. We have to commit. And that's why a lot of people don't buy from him. Like they'll try it once or twice, but we commit to bringing in whole fish and we use it. And then, like you said, you get the yield and you got to, it seems really inexpensive. So you start cutting and then you got to portion size it. And, that's the less glamorous side of what we do, right? The business, we still got to run a business. And, but it's you get such a great product, but that's the kind of kitchen I like being involved in. So we commit to doing it. We do our own butchery in house and then we, turn it all into something and we make it work, but you get the best product that way.
Yeah. There's nothing like the whole animal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite things every week.
What's your, how large is your staff now?
So we fluctuate because we're seasonal. So we have our core staff, which is there year round. And then we bring in, we do a lot of international workers or H-2B visa programs. And we have some seasonal people we bring in for the season. So we have a few more coming in, but chef wise, I have, so each club, my beach club and my main club have an exec chef. I have a sous chef out at the beach. And then I have 2 restaurant chefs here at the main club, a banquet chef and a pastry chef. That's our leadership team. And then under that we run. So there's, I think, they're doing the math real quick. I think there's about 15 cooks out at the beach club. And then we'll ramp up to about 40 to 50 cooks here in season in the main club. So we have a few more coming in as they get in for the year, but most of them are in now. So we're the kitchen went from being real quiet and empty during the summer, and when there was just a few of us working, to now it's humming along, and it's great. That's the best time when everything's moving and there's that low dim noise, but it's all controlled. It's a fun time to be around there. The energy is always great.
That's really, really exciting. Can you tell us, if you're a new cook coming up in the ranks, how important it is to be part of the ACF? Because I've been part of the ACF for a long time. I've been all over North America, but I think it's really, really gotten good now. Very important part to be, to have a connection and go to the meetings. Can you share with us because you are the ultimate chef to inspire others and the ACF?
So the ACF, I actually didn't know much about it or join it till I moved back to DC from New Jersey, and I got a chance to open up a hotel. And I literally joined it because they had a gumbo cook-off over in Annapolis, and I wanted to go do that, but you had to be an ACF member. So I was like, all right, I'll join. Never heard of it, knew nothing about it. But then I decided to, I got a call from the president of the local chapter in DC after I did that. And he and I became friends. So we've been friends now for 20 years. And then I went to some meetings and I met some other chefs, and I went to the convention in Washington, DC. I just opened the hotel and I had like no days off. A hotel we both worked at different times. So I went to they had a national convention in Washington. So I went to it. My company paid for me to go, and I figured I'll go check in and then I'm going to get a day off. I'm just going to slip out the back door. And I went into the main ballroom for the keynote speaker, and there was, 600 or 700 chefs, and there's this sea of white chef coats. And I saw them and I heard them talk, and it was really inspiring to me. It really kind of took me out of the just getting through my day-to-day grind of running the kitchen and showed me what like a real professional executive chef was as a profession and not just a job. So I started going to meetings. I got really involved in it. I tend to do that. I kind of have that personality. Like if I'm going to do something, I'm all in all the time kind of guy. I got involved in it. I became an local officer, was a president. And then I got into competition cooking through the ACF. And that really, really made a difference for me. I met amazing people. I drove across the country competing, met all these chefs who became huge mentors to me, and I still talk to them every day. In fact, I'm meeting one of them later today to go through some stuff that he's helping me with. I got into certification. I thought that would be great for my job, but, really became how I defined myself as a professional. So it forced me to really look at like, not just doing it, but are we doing it the right way? My career, I don't even know if I'd still be doing this if I hadn't gotten the ACF. Chefs, we all go through this period of sometimes you burn out and you get tired. I've never thought about leaving the business, but there were definitely times where it was tougher than others, right? So the ACF really kind of pointed me in that right direction and really made professionalism a thing for me. So I'm really, really, I've said before, and I've been really fortunate with my jobs. I've loved pretty much every job I've ever had. But, you don't always have to love your job, but I thought you always have to love your profession. And the ACF gave me that tool. And then getting involved in competition and certification, I've traveled the world now because of it. And along the way, just preparing for that, it has turned me into a cook that I'm happy with where I'm at with my skills. There's more I'm trying to do and more I want to learn. And because I love learning new stuff, but it really forced me to learn how to cook really, really the right way. So, it's taken me to, Luxembourg twice. It's taken me to Germany. Most recently, it took me to Singapore. I would have never gone to Singapore if it wasn't for the ACF. And then, the friendships and connections, I haven't, it's to sound kind of weird, but I haven't applied for a job in like 15 years. Right. But it's all the connections I've made through the ACF and working with people and the mentors I've been able to develop. There hasn't been one chef in the ACF that I've called that did not answer the phone and did not return my phone call. And that's something you can't find in a school and you can't find on the street. It was a matter of meeting these people and these opportunities. And we talked about being in the right place at the right time, and that's absolutely a fact. Obviously, there's some randomness to life, but if the door opens and you're not prepared to go through it, it doesn't matter. So I really believe in the saying, success is preparation meets opportunity. You kind of have to make your own luck if you want to get anywhere.
That's absolutely correct. And, when you mentioned that the chef that previous to you had reached out to you, that's really kind of how it works. We're, especially in clubs, we have a tight network, and handing the torch off to the next chef is it works like that. And well, it's really something. What I always judge my team by, not just by me, but by how we are as a team, putting people in the right places and all that. And, I always associate leadership with hockey, and because I played hockey all my life. And I always associate culinary arts and being a chef like hockey, because you can get banged up pretty good. You got to keep your head up and, head on a swivel.
Absolutely.
But as leadership goes, what are some of the key aspects of leadership that, everybody should know?
For me, I think as I've gotten older and further along in my career, I think I focus a lot now on legacy, and not like my personal legacy, but, leaving something behind to this business that really, gave me a life. So I really want my kitchens, and I want it to be in the leadership I want to provide is a lot of coaching and mentoring and developing, and, that was done for me. So, and I take a lot of pride in the chefs that have worked for me that I'm still in contact with them, a lot of them that were sous chefs and executive sous chefs or banquet chefs, and now they're chefs somewhere else. And, I still get texts and phone calls from them or messages, and we'll trade pictures. No, remember this and remember that. And to see them go on, I think that's it for me. My boss was, we had a talk the other day. He was giving a talk to a lot of people. He talked about how when you start out, you're you're a doer. right? And I always felt I was a good doer, right? I could really work hard. And that's the only thing. I didn't grow up cooking with my grandmother, or, I didn't even go to culinary school. Like I worked and learned in the kitchen. And I always figured when I was competing for jobs in the beginning, I think the beginning of your life, you're competing, right? But the end of the career, you're kind of collaborating, because we're not competing at the top. So I always figured, okay, they may know more than me, but I'm not going to let them outwork me. So, I would try to be the hardest worker I could, and that opened up some opportunities for me to learn. So you do that, and then you start supervising, and then you're managing. So it's still a doer, but you're not really the decision maker. You're managing more. And then as you progress, you move up into leadership. And that's a lot more, I think, inspiring people and coaching and teaching and really developing a lot of further view. So I think about that. But as far as like working, especially now going into a new place, it's not about me making the kitchen mine. It's about me becoming a part of the kitchen, because teamwork it's 100%, right? Everyone out front thinks I cooked every single dish, right? You walk in, you talk to a member, like, oh, you made my burger last night. You're like, I probably didn't even see it. I'll be honest with you. I have 4 restaurants open. I got a wedding over here, and we just did a golf outing for 300. No, I didn't cook your food, but they think you did. But it's all the people around you. So if someone tells you, hey, the chicken was great last night, I'm like, I'll make sure I tell the guys. I really, really appreciate that. So one of the things I loved when I started cooking, and I started at TGI Fridays when I was 20, flipping burgers, but it was the energy of the kitchen. It was teamwork. It was like team sports. And I think a lot of chefs play team sports, right? Because you can't do it alone. And I think you start to see and appreciate that more as you move on. But I hope that's in. I try to fit into the kitchen I'm in. And then really, I don't want them to ever think that I'm not going to be the guy who's going to work with them, work just as hard, work right next to them, washing dishes and peeling carrots and, cleaning up after myself. And, I try never to pull rank. So if I make a mess, I clean it up. I don't leave my station dirty. I replace things. And I try to do that. I hopefully and try to set the tone. It's really kind of make sure that everyone, being positive, like coming in and being in a good mood, and things go bad, but being the calm in the chaos, I think, is a huge part of leading a kitchen and leading people in general. If you hit the panic button, you can't unhit it. And so if you're the calmest guy in the room, your kitchen will kind of come along with you.
Exactly. And that leads me to, the chef I worked for up in Canada, who was chef of the year for 3 years in a row, put together a team for the World Expo in Vancouver. And I wanted to talk about the National Culinary Olympic team, because that's just incredible. Can you share a little bit of that experience?
Yeah, happy to. It's still a little surreal to me. I realize to a lot of people it's a big deal, and to me it was it is when I look back on it, because when I joined the ACF and I started competing, I met some of the guys on the team, and we had one of them in DC at the time, and at that time too, the team was just they won the World Cup. They were just phenomenal guys. I remember seeing pictures of their food, and I didn't even know what it was, much less how to cook it. Right? But I followed them along, and they were super inspiring, and I kept competing, and I think I've competed, I don't know, probably 60 times now, and I got involved in it, and I got so I was on the team like 1.5 times. It's kind of a story. So the team for 2020, the team forms every 4 years, and they go to the International Culinary World Cup. And then 2 years later, they go to the IKA, which is in Germany. It's run by the German Chef Association, and what we call the Culinary Olympics. So it's kind of like summer and winter Olympic kind of years thing. So you're on the team for 4 years. So when the 2020 team formed, I actually tried out and was not successful. Came out, I went to the tryout. You do 2 different sessions. I had a bad day when you really can't have bad days. So I didn't get on the team. But I knew then I wanted to try again for the next time. But if, a few months later, I actually got a phone call and said, they had a slot opening up. They wanted me to come retry out. So I did. And I, had a good day and did what I felt I could do. And I got invited to do a new team. And it was, incredibly humbling and intimidating and all this at the same time. You're on a team of 6 guys, and they're, theoretically the best competition chefs the ACF can put together. So you're around these people, and the coaches are all former Olympians and master chefs. And, it's funny, you kind of feel like an apprentice again, running around fetching coffee, right? But I got to go to the Culinary World Cup with them as part of the team, and it was really amazing. And then I stepped off the team for business reasons. And then in 2020, for the 2024 team, I was offered the opportunity to try out again. I submitted my package, did through the tryout process, made the team again. And because I did want to finish what I started, I didn't get to go to the Olympics in the previous team. So I wanted to do that, and I joined that. So the team was amazing. I mean, it was one of the former team chefs that I'm friends with. He told me, like, a year on the team it's kind of like dog years. So a year on the team is like 7 years of working. We always call them team years. And it was literally true. Like so every single month you get together for like 3 or 4 days. So, we're all working Saturday night, and you get on a plane late Saturday or Sunday morning, and you fly somewhere in the country, wherever we host practice. Usually there's schools that'll host us. You fly in, you bring in all your food that's your meased out, you bring in equipment, you're flying with totes. You fly with, crackers in your lap and food in your backpack.
Rock star.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right. So you fly across the country to go to practice, and then you practice for 2 or 3 days, and you fly back and you jump right back into work. So it was rough. And I wouldn't have traded for anything, but along the way you learn so much. They became, great friends. We still talk to each other. And then the 4 years ended, and it was funny because we all, like, a week later, we were sitting around and we text each other like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I got nothing to do. But literally, we probably figure, even when we're not practicing, you easily spent a few hours every single day working on a team, whether you were just sitting in the car thinking, writing down ideas. At one point, and we all have different components on each dish. So we came together, we bring in dishes for R&D, and then they get mixed up and matched up, and the coaches work with us, and you end up with a plate that becomes your entire team because everyone had a contribution on it. But I think I literally spent, for the World Cup in 22, I spent, I think, 6 months like cooking carrots. Like I had my dishes was a carrot component on the entree. And I never wanted to see another carrot when I was done. And then to Germany, I had this potato part on one dish. And we all have other assignments too. I did some butchery and things like that. But, I worked on this potato that we made for months. And I even flew to Germany with 100 pounds of potatoes. So we had the exact same ripe potato that we were used to. My wife laughed about it. She still does. I literally went through customs in Germany with 100 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes from America. So, but it was an amazing thing. And it's still super surreal. When we look back and do the math, we've been going since around the 70s, I think. So we sent 6 chefs every 4 years, discounting the people that have gone more than once. I mean, looking back, it sounds a little arrogant, but it's still humbling. There's probably less than 300 chefs that got to do that in the country. And it was one of the best things I've been able to do professionally, and something I'm super proud to be a part of.
I'm so happy that your 2020 was great like that, and you were focused on something, because it was bad in DC. I was working downtown and at the IMF, and my first day of work, 3,000 employees picked up their house plants and went home and never came back. I had to cook food. I put together a modern recipe, like the first one in the States, and I had to do this R&D and put together all this food, and the next day I'd go in and throw it away and then redo it again. And I didn't get to see anybody. I was doing it by myself for months, and for I think about a year. We were just chefs trying to find something to do. It's not easy.
It's a tough time.
Yeah.
No.
But
it's a tough time. We were lucky in Florida. We I was in private clubs by then. So, I came out of hotels, and down here, they, determined that private clubs we were considered essential. So, we were able to get through it without laying anybody off. But yeah, it was definitely, we had our situation, but we were very, very fortunate. And looking back, we were incredibly lucky to be able to still do what we did. And, we were a selected few, and not many people got to do it. And it was a tough time for the entire business. It really gutted our business to the point that we definitely haven't recovered to where it was before, and it's never going to be the same again.
Yeah, I think the country clubs, the club industry actually benefited a little from it. I don't think anything else benefited, unless you're selling plexiglass or hand sanitizer.
Yeah,
but it really, really hurt this country. And yeah, you're right. It still hurts.
For
But
sure.
like I always say, there's no finish line what we do. And what you mentioned about building something, legacy is about it, because everything else gets consumed and enjoyed, and everybody loves what we do, but we make things and there's nothing left,
Oh yeah. No, if you do it right, it's gone in less than an hour, and that's it. You can move on to the next.
So we just create experiences for people, and
Absolutely.
we're blessed to be able to do that. So here we have a chef that I would say I always look for, go out on top. I always say this, let's go out on top. Here you are. Chef, I'm honored to have worked with you and maybe inspired you a little bit back in the early 90s.
100%. I remember a lot, but I remember I've made so many variations of the smoked salmon cheesecake. It's still so good. Gumbo. I remember sitting down with you in the cafeteria, and you had, it seemed like hundreds of menus from your time at the Ashby Inn, and you let me copy them all. I probably still have them in a binder somewhere because I have everything. And I remember sitting in the room I rented because I was a young cook making no money, rented a room in a house. I remember sitting there in bed, like just paging these menus and reading stuff I had never heard of. I learned a lot working in the hotel, and it was mostly like how to work in the kitchen, cooking skills, things like that. But it was working at Market Street under you, like watching like things develop as far as specials and like tasting food more. Like it was because it was a lot more focused on one thing. It wasn't, we're doing a banquet for 600, which is an important part of what we do, but it was definitely showed me the restaurant cooking. And that's, as much as I like the big events that I've been able to do some really huge events. It's still that working that line and like putting plates together and sending the plate out. And that started with you. I mean, that was, I think about it often. It was a fun time, and I learned so much.
Yeah. The Ashby Inn was a very special place. And I don't know when Farm to Table started, but I started that in 1990 and haven't swayed from it ever. I continue to do that to this day. Daily menu, just what we could gather, within 50 miles. Took that to Market Street Bar and Grill, where we won the top 100, the Washingtonian magazine. And were you there when one of the cooks yelled out 86 placenta?
No, I think I had been transferred to a different part, or maybe I got transferred up to New Jersey by then. No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I haven't been in a closed kitchen since the 80s. And,
that's right.
I got used to cooking in front of everybody all the time and comfortable with that. And that's where the part of the show comes in. And, but we had an open kitchen at Market Street, and I used to, I'd be on the front of the house side of the line. And a lot of times I would deliver the food and say hello to the guests. And, we had polenta 3 ways on the menu.
I remember the dish. I just don't remember that night.
And then one of the cooks
definitely wasn't me, though.
86 placenta. There's like 250 turn around, look over, like, what the heck did he just say? That was one of the funniest. The other one time I opened a big restaurant in Florida, and we had these French little kettles in the front where we would do all the fruited mer and steamed lobsters and stuff. So I had a lobster, and I was talking to one of the guests, and I took the rubber band off the lobster, and I was pointing over while I was talking. This lobster reaches up and grabs my finger, and I go like this, and the lobster's flying through the dining room. It looks like a little red plane. It's just like, and luckily it landed between 2 tables, because I would have been in big trouble. My finger was okay.
Yeah, I mean, the stories that every chef's got them, the stories from our life. Like, we all get them, and we all think they're funny. Like, oh yeah, I totally see that happen. But I think anyone who works not in this business would think we're making most of this stuff up. But it's just everyday life. It's what we live with. We live in a unique world, I think.
The 90s were a time where I realized too that the front of the house is so important to what we do. Giving them the tools to be confident and, I work very hard in not being intimidating in the menu, in how I am, but it doesn't matter because even the club I'm at now, the staff is so young, they're just intimidated. Even if I'm trying so hard to be friendly, just, like one time I remember a server going in to get some dressing in the cooler, and I just hear a big thump and then pause, and I'm like, and another thump and another thump. The person had taken a 5-gallon bucket of dressing and slipped, and all the dressing went on the floor. When they tried to get up, they fell the other way on their back. They came out, they were covered in dressing. There's just too many stories. It's just safety first.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a good point, though. I think when I look back at my career, and I think I was definitely intimidating, and I think I can be now. Some of it's I'm not the smallest guy in the room, and I'm the chef. Like there's a lot of times I think some people don't even know my real name, and one of the things at the club here, I always introduce myself as Tim, and I try to make sure that there's people that call me Tim. All the cooks still call me chef, but I don't insist on it. And I just don't feel that's important these days. And I've worked really hard on the same thing. The front of house. Like I don't know where I heard it, but like I read it or something. It's like I can make the best food in the world, but if it doesn't get to the person, get to the diner, it doesn't make a difference. And really, I've tried to forge partnerships especially over the past few years since I've come down to Florida. I've really focused on that part of being the executive chef and being professional with everybody and respectful. And, our whole industry went through a really bad time on that aspect with how we treat people and the perceptions and some reality. And, that needed to happen, I think, back in the day when, how we were treated when we were coming up. And I don't really have any bad stories about chefs being mistreating me and things, but, how people were spoken to and reactions of people. And I definitely had that when I was younger. I was young, I had a temper. I was super passionate. But I think I definitely grew a lot, especially over the past number of years, and trying to be a better partner to people and working with them and just being really positive because, there are times in our day when it's super tough and it's an up and down road every single day, and not letting that take you off the rails and I need the front of house servers and bartenders just as much as I need my dishwashers. And those are my most important people at the end of the day. We all needed to work on that, and hopefully we're doing better at it.
Yeah, I use the term loose, tight properties because I want people to be relaxed. I want them to know what they, are doing, but I want them to be relaxed. Yeah. And I was a little nervous before this podcast today because I had this feeling, the last time I was nervous was, kind of with Erler. Erler was a big chef of the year in Canada. And I worked for him at the Delta Valley Inn in Calgary. And he was like, wow. Like, I remember the first day I was finishing risotto, like doing risotto for like 250 or something. I had a bag of peas and I was about just to put the peas in there and stir them in. And he comes walking by and I picked up a bag of peas and there was a hole in the bottom and all the peas came out. And they're I looked down, I looked up and he looks over at me and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, that's it. My career is over.
I'm done. I'm getting fired. No, I mean, I still feel that way too. I get around some of these guys that are mentors of mine and I've known them for 20 years and, master chef. And, the gentleman I'm meeting today, I've known since DC and, a certified master chef. He's been on the Olympic team a number of times. He's actually a dual certified master chef here in America and Germany. Phenomenal guy, amazing cook. And he judged my competitions so many times. I remember my critiques vividly from all of them because they were tough, fair but tough. But I still get around him, and I've been cooking now for 37 years, and I've been executive chef for 20 of or more than 20 of them now, I guess. But I still get around him, and I can't call him by his first name. He's still chef. Like it's just I can't see him any other way. I think it's just kind of how we came up. I like that. I like that our profession has that much respect for the people. Thomas Keller said, is it Thomas Keller? That like we kind of stand on the shoulders of the people that came before us. And we're really fortunate. We live in the time of where chefs, it's the best time to be a chef, really. Years ago when I started, when I told my parents I was going to, leave college where I was studying like accounting because I wanted to go cook, they were great. They were like, okay, now that I have kids, I can imagine what they were thinking, because that wasn't a career path back then in my life. But now you get parents talking to you about, my son wants to be a chef, culinary school, what do you think? It's a viable thing. And with the, Food Network that came out years ago, with the internet, we get a lot more attention than we ever did. And it's truly become a profession, and we're looked on as professionals. And I think that's great for all of us. And it's made it really good. Conversely, there's also some negatives to that. And, you get someone bringing in a Pinterest thing of frozen vodka, and you try to explain to them you can't freeze vodka, and they, no, I saw it on Pinterest. It gets a little interesting, but we're pretty fortunate to be able to do that. I think being able to that respect towards our history is something I enjoy.
You gotta love what you do, though. I mean,
Absolutely.
You can't go this long and do this well unless you love what you do. And I always say I'm just halfway there. This year it'll be 50 years for me in kitchen. Wow. I started when I was 13. Yeah, I don't mind sharing my age. I don't care.
Yeah, me either. I'm I look back, in my head, I'm not as old as I am. There are some mornings I feel a little older, but no, I told my boss, and I've told other people too, like I said, there's good days and bad days in every job and every life, but there hasn't been a day I haven't pulled up to the back door of my kitchen, going in, excited to go in and cook something. And those are my favorite days. I spend, obviously, as director and with a big staff like you and I run, and the multifaceted operation. I mean, Belmead's the top club in the country. I mean, one of the very top. You spend a lot of time doing more strategic things. We spend a lot of time on spreadsheets and budgets and planning, and not as much time cooking as we like to. I don't have a knife in my hand as much as I would love, but those days I try to carve out time every day to go do something. And I like to, hopefully I cook something every single day, but our job is fun. It's hot burgers and cold beer. And if we keep that fun in what we do every day, it's hard not to love this. I mean, I get to feed people, and that's a great feeling.
I have a lot of advice for the young cooks. And one is, don't ever think you're going to come in and have an easy day. Just don't do it. It's easier to go in and be geared up, here, and physically, you got to be physically fit, pretty much, because it's a grueling job. But if you go into work, leave your, you got a safe haven for, the next 8 to 10 hours or 12 hours, whatever time you're going to spend there. Focus on what you're doing and what you're learning, and don't ever go to work thinking you're having an easy day, because you're putting yourself in a lose kind of position. It's tough work, and nothing is as rewarding as what we do. And it may not be anything left on the plate, but it is rewarding to make people happy.
It is. It is. No, I mean, that's one of the great things about what we do. Yeah, it ends. You make something and it's gone. You spend, we're all planning now and getting ready for Thanksgiving, right? So I know I got my stuff starting to roll in now. You're going to do all this work for weeks, and then it's over in 4 hours, right? You're going to feed hundreds of people, and then it's done. But we get instant gratification. Like, you instantly know if you did it right. You instantly know if somebody's happy with what you did. And that's really fun. Like, we get to see the end result, and that's pretty great. And I enjoy that. Yeah, but you're right. There's no easy days. The only easy day was yesterday. You got another one today, and being like mentally prepared, like, mise en place for us, obviously, it's a religion. I have a big campaign sign. It's been in every office for the past 10 years of my life. But and that goes beyond just having, the salt in the right place and your station prepped and cleaned. It's, mentally too, you get in. But that whole safe haven thing, that's, the kitchen, the noise, the fire, the movement, the energy, that's comfortable to me. That's like my comfort zone. I feel good there. It's hard to control everything in your life, but in the kitchen, if you cook the dish the right way, it's going to work. Like there's no way it's not going to work if you do the right steps. So if you prepare it, you get that, and that control and that outcome is something that you can focus on So it's a good spot for me. Like I love doing prep. Like I'll sit there at butchery. Like I'll break down fish and whole pigs. And I just got a couple of locally raised lambs that I broke down. And like, but for that period of time, I can focus on that. And just, I don't know. I think maybe it's helped me stay mentally fit, being able to have something like that to work with.
Every ounce counts.
Absolutely.
I say this all the time. We got some really incredible achievements in 60 days.
Yeah, no, I've been seeing it. Your feast on the fairway, I took pictures of that. I printed the pictures of your feast on the fairway. That table setting was awesome. I loved seeing you cook out there. I put it to our event people. I'm like, we need to plan this. I want to do that. And that looked like so much fun.
You got to have a lot of confidence to go out there and do 100. One table of 100.
Yeah, it was a beautiful setting too.
A lot of fun. We could go on all day, and we're going to have you back on again, Chef, because what we're sharing with everybody is there's no better way to learn than to share some time with a successful chef like you. And I really appreciate you joining us. This is right at the beginning of your season, and we were going to do it, last week or 2 weeks ago, but the Blue Jays lost. And I was devastated. I couldn't even be seen. I couldn't.
Well, it's hockey season now, so it's hockey season, so we're good.
That's right. So we're back in action.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's nice being able to come home and I catch the late games from the West Coast. So we have some pretty good hockey down here in Florida right now too. So my hometown is my hometown. I mean, I grew up outside of Chicago, so I haven't had a good decade. I had a good run a little bit ago, but right now down in Florida, hockey is actually a pretty big sport for us. So it's fun to watch. My little boy plays too. So we have a great time.
We're going to have Charlie Baggs on next, and we're going to talk a little bit about hockey, talk about that Chicago team. And I really appreciate you joining us. I know you're a very busy guy. So come back again, and I hope we get to cook very soon together. I think that would be a lot of fun, and it would be an honor to be in your kitchen.
Thank you. I'd love to have you down. Maybe we'll get you down for a guest chef. We'll do a 4-hands dinner together or something. I appreciate it. And I can't thank you enough. It's an honor to be here. And you were one of the guys that I started my career with, and I owe you for that one, and I don't forget it. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. And you have a great season. We'll see you soon.
You too, Chef. Thanks again.
All right.
Thank you for being part of the Keller Chronicles. Cook with your heart. Join us in the Hospitality Nexus to keep the conversation going. And until next time, remember, every meal is a chance to share love, and every day is a chance to make a difference.